What's up, fam? Welcome to the Flow State Outdoors podcast.
And I just can't live without you.
What do you mean? There's fucking 2 kilos in the boat.
Listen to me every time.
This podcast is brought to you by Hustle and Grind Coffee Co., Evertread, and Castmag.co.
Could see I was wrong. Are we back?
Yeah, we've been back. I was waiting to finish it.
Oh, no. And I just can't live without you.
That's staying in.
Yeah.
We're back. I just wanted to do... Oh, I'm blowing the mic out. It's me. It's not anyone else. Just a quick recap, and then that'll do for the controversial shit. Because we chatted about it off air. Back on the trophy hunting shit.
Yeah, so I guess you gave an example of sort of African animals, and that's, I think that's where a lot, like, where people, when you say trophy hunting, like, people don't think of our guiding, going and shooting a shit or deer, or going to even shooting like an elk in the US or something like that, or that Dale sheep that you were talking about before, or, like, when people think trophy hunting, they think like shooting an elephant, shooting a giraffe, shooting a lion, shooting a leopard, like those type of things, right? And I think the media sort of hype it up a bit and get a bit sort of wrapped up in it. And I think like anthropomorphism is the word I used to describe it, where we try and put human emotion onto things that, like,
the media do a fucking...
Oh, they do a fantastic job of
hate mainstream media. I just wanted to say that on the air. Oh. They're fucking dogs.
They try and over-emotionalise things that are actually raw and just like black and white,
so
life and death.
When we spoke about like personal opinion and facts earlier, right? Like, often with African animals, and I say often because obviously, like with everything, like, there's just shit in the industry, right? Yep. But generally, in the sense, like, African animals are managed, and they're managed as a herd, like what we discussed earlier. And what happens is, you've got that animal that's coming to the end of its breeding season, whether it be a hippo or a giraffe or a leopard or a lion or whatever it is. Like, normally it's the big five, like, so
it could be an antelope, but people don't seem to care because there's thousands of antelope. Yeah. That's where, just to like cut in quickly, we seem to get focused too much on the individual as humans and like backseat people on the couch watching the news. It's like,
those fuckers.
Holy shit, that lion, that specific lion in a herd of thousands, a pride or whatever, population of thousands, is so much more important than the overall ecosystem and like lions in general, because it has a tracking collar on it, or it has a whatever to make it an individual with a name where people attach to that. We like to be, feel like that's that one line that we can track and sort of live our lives by watching it live its. Whereas science in general is not an individual. Like, we don't look at conservation as, how can blah, blah, blah survive? And it's literally looking at that whole population and those dynamics. And
And I guess where people sort of struggle is they see this one animal, like they see this massive this massive bull elephant that's been shot, right? And what they don't realise is generally it's a white male US citizen has gone over there and has paid an exuberant amount of money. Like, we're talking upwards of $50,000, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars to shoot this animal. And what they don't realise is that money then not only goes into managing the whole herd, so you're managing all of, like, you're managing an endangered animal, like you're managing all the elephants or all the lions or whatever in that region, right? And, putting money into parks and preventing poaching and stuff, but half the money also goes generally to the villages in the area, so that those people can make money off a resource that otherwise they would not be managing and would just poach the shit out of.
Yeah, so making money, like, as in contributing back to...
Yeah, so just say someone...
Keep it in Africa for...
Yeah, so just say someone shot paid $50,000, like, Joe Blow, Jono from the US pays $50,000 to go over there and shoot a giraffe, right? And generally what happens is a proportion, so I don't know if it's 50%, like a proportion of the money will go into managing the park still and protecting the animals within the park, making sure they've got enough food if they need it and whatnot, like building permanent water courses and that type of stuff. So a proportion of that money goes into that, and a proportion of the money actually goes back into the local communities, so that because otherwise, like, they're wanting bushmeat. Like, that's how, like, you know, they don't go, oh, I want, you know, a nice Angus steak, Scotch fillet today.
Yeah.
They go, oh, what bushmeat can I go and get? Oh, I'm going to go and shoot a giraffe, or I'm going to go shoot an antelope, or I'm going to shoot a lion. Like,
it's not even
you know,
shoot, it's snaring.
Well, like,
it's like
snaring.
indiscriminate.
That's right.
sort
It's
of-
indiscriminate killing,
Yeah.
right? So, but they want to eat. Like, it's very easy for us people in first world countries to, you know, be like, oh, what the hell with all the killing processes in Asia and but they don't understand. Like, if you had the option of not having meat, like red meat, would you kill something potentially less ethically? Like, it's very easy for us to put all of our opinions when we're comfortable and we just walk up to the fridge and grab whatever we want, or go down to the supermarket and grab whatever we want. Like, even people that are living like in the lowest possible way in Australia are better than.
I'll bet you every cent I own that there's somebody in the world that whinges about hunting in a general perspective, but eats meat and goes and buys cattle that's been hit over the head with a sledgehammer in Indonesia. Do you know what I mean?
sure.
Like, I bet you any money it's happened, and I bet you it's happened more than once.
Yeah, but the thing is with like with the African animals, and we'll just touch on it for a second. But like, so like that's where people get the dirty taste about trophy hunting. But I think if more people realise that, like what Ayden was saying,
So it could be a problem animal too.
Oh, that's right. It could be a problem animal, and that's why they're shooting it when it's younger. Like, it could be, you know, often young bull elephants get shot because they're going into villages, ruining crops, ruining houses, you know, like doing all that type of stuff, like chasing people. Same with, you know, like potential, like, anyway. So
we'll talk about the
Lions.
undisclosed line that may have been, like, it's in a conservation, what's it called? Conservation park?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a park.
Yeah. So
So you tell the story.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. So it was an animal that was past its prime, but even then, so what you do is you're shooting an animal that then goes into contributing back to the resource of managing, like, he could...
Within the park, it's killed more lions.
Yeah.
Like, it's
That's
like
just general
a
sort
detriment-
of
That's just general.
behaviour in lions. So that lion has a very short sort of period of dominance within the pride.
So just say,
But if you're
then-
looking at, like, the park, outside the park is no man's land, dead zone.
Yeah.
And if you're just looking at the conservation value of that park that lion contributes to, do you think that, like, by it being a problem to the general lion population, do you think that that's, like, worth? I can't explain it properly. I have all these mad things in my head and I can never get them out
I
of
would
my
just
mouth.
jump in and
Yeah,
say
you saved me.
So-
Save me.
what we tend to do as humans is, chuck an emotional sort of invested interest into animals as, individuals.
Yeah.
And basically, there would be no legal hunt. And that's, at the end of the day, this is legal hunting.
Yep.
And even that lion that got shot years ago was super controversial because it was a known lion with a tracking collar.
Yep.
And the only reason that lion was legally being able to be harvested was because it was a known lion. It had its life. They knew it was kicked out of the pride. They knew exactly how much money they could get from a middle-aged white dude, whatever. It doesn't matter who it is. But that money, they had made a calculation. This is like science in action.
Yeah.
This isn't just, that lion's killing other baby lions now. Let's get rid of it, to save baby lions. It's so much more than that. And ultimately, there was an economic value put on that lion, and that's where sometimes you have to be a bit black and white. And that's where someone, whether it be a biologist or whatever at the park, had said, this problem lion is at the end of its life cycle. It's going to basically continue killing young lions and be territorial while it's on the exile from its pride. Or we can get someone in here to pay a big sum of money, shoot it. That money then goes into anti-poaching, feeding surrounding villages, lion conservation as a whole of that population within the park.
Yep.
And ultimately, for it to be legal and happen and occur, it outweighs that individual lion's ultimate death.
Yeah.
And that's where, like, it brings us into that conversation too, where we were talking about it earlier about, the natural kingdom and stuff and life in general being so sort of, it's black and white. It's you're either alive or you're dead in the natural kingdom. And typically there's like 4 ways to go. Like there's basically disease and sickness. There's, on the other hand, there's nutrition and sort of starvation.
Yeah.
There's the cold. And then there's the 4th one, which is what everyone thinks happens in the natural kingdom, but it's like literally such a 1% thing, and that is old age and this Cinderella story that all animals, you know,
Just go down, lay down, go to sleep.
live their lives, breed, and have little Bambis, and you know, it's like Bambi. His big dad goes off, and you know, he dies, you know, in his sleep that night, and you know,
it doesn't happen.
Everyone has a happy life.
Realistically, he's sleeping and he gets predated on by
it's probably
cougar,
a combination of the three.
He's sleeping, and
The
then
other three.
like that's generally it's a combination. Like he's sick, and then he gets disease because he's sick and his immune system's compromised, and then he slows down, and then
He can't feed
fucked
enough.
up.
he doesn't feed. You know, like
condition,
he's,
and the cold
he's
kills
sleeping
him.
too deeply and not checking regularly, and then a mountain lion sneaks in and you know puts him down, and he's not going to kill him straight away. Like you've seen like nature is metal and nature is gnarly and those type of things. Like when things die, they don't have the ethics that we put into hunting and killing, right?
Yeah, well, they don't get to go into a nursing home.
They're
and
thinking,
like, die in a bed.
it's all about, like for us, like we are now at a stage in our life where we can, it's putting emotion on it, but we also reflect on, you know, processes in terms of, we reflect on how we kill things.
Yeah.
But then, like, you know, an African wild dog isn't going, oh, you know, look, this impala that I've been chasing for the last 20 Ks and has finally fallen over of exhaustion.
Yeah.
You know, like, the nice thing for me to do would be to go and, you know, asphyxiate it and you know, close this windpipe for a minute so that it dies.
It's like
it
roos
goes,
that get hit by a car and they're
that's
laying
right,
on the
but
side
it
of the road
goes-
still half alive. You're going,
and then a fox goes
and
and starts eating it because it capitalised on the fact that it's got two broken legs and can't move away from it.
That wild dog's literally thinking, I need to feed my cubs. I've invested so much energy into chasing this thing to exhaustion. I'm fitter and stronger.
Yeah.
My pack and I are literally going to scramble for every last morsel and eat it while it's alive from the back to the front.
Yeah.
And that's nature. And that's where the fifth sort of thing as well, in terms of how animals die now, is through human intervention. And that's the one that people don't seem to like or acknowledge that animals die of the cold.
So do you think Sorry, you continue.
They seem to like go, oh, a hunter who is not meant to be in that environment has gone and ethically shot something through the heart and that animal's died. What a prick. And sure, like hunting, fishing, spearfishing, rifle shooting, bow hunting, like all these things that where we're out there participating in it, we're trying to do it as ethically, sustainably.
Yeah, the general population and the population.
I don't know anyone out there that goes, I'm going to go gut shoot that deer and make it kill. Like,
there's some fuckheads around, man.
There are,
but yeah, you know what I mean?
I don't know anyone that goes, I'm going to purposely, if I can like head shoot it or shoot it behind the front leg, I'm going to purposely shoot it in the back end so it dies a slow.
Because that's what nature's cruel. Like no one does. Like, and that's where unfortunately there is this fifth thing, and it's like the second you consume red meat or own a dog, like so that's where I have a massive issue with. Playing footy, I've known heaps of blokes, and they would eat. You know, on a Thursday night we'd have heaps of blokes. On a Thursday night we'd have like a chicken palmy night, and the topic would come up about me being a hunter and a prick because I kill innocent animals.
Yeah.
And it's just like, all right, so how do you justify me having, the responsibility...
steroid-ridden chicken breast and
of killing a deer that, lives its life. And that's where, like, any store-bought meat has a shelf life. So that animal, whether it's a 4-year-old bullock or steer, is ultimately being bred by a farmer to, reach a certain weight. And again, it's trying to do it as sustainable as possible, but it's the exact same argument you could have for hunting. Like, we're invested in this and we're almost farmers, but for hunting.
But those animals live like a wild, natural existence,
deer,
whereas like...
No fences, like free range deer lives however it wants until the moment, and that's where as a bow hunter, we are striving to literally get within 30 metres of that animal, not know we're there, shoot it through the heart, have this peaceful process go down before us. That deer literally succumbed to the effects of a razor-sharp broadhead through the heart. It bleeds out and loses consciousness. And that process, I can guarantee you, is a lot quicker than an animal just getting transported to an abattoir. Where I know an abattoir is as best practice as possible. Yeah. But the amount of animals that probably break their legs in transport would be astonishing.
Well, imagine being in the next in line while you're hearing three cows in front of you getting a bolt shoved through its fucking brain.
You keep on? Or?
Oh, I was just going to say, bringing it back to like mates at footy and stuff, and like just the everyday person that finds it easy to sit on their couch and criticise people who are happy to go out and do it themselves, and that whether that's hooking a fish in the mouth, it's probably painful, but that fish quickly gets brought in, dispatched, and then that's fillets in the freezer where you feed your friends and family. Yeah. What's the difference between that and the salmon that someone's going to eat?
Yeah.
Like, it's the only thing that's different. Unfortunately, no animal really dies peacefully in that. But I personally get comfort from knowing that I've gone and done it myself. It's sustainable. I'm only taking what I need, that sort of thing. Whereas, and then, that's I find it real sort of ironic when people who eat meat have this argument. And then there's obviously people who consider themselves as vegans and, not eating meat. And that's a whole different can of fish.
Yeah.
And it can get pretty ugly. But at the end of the day, I know vegans who feed their pet dogs. And I'm not having to go at vegans. Like, some vegans, honestly, like, can be the greatest sort of people, same as hunters, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, we're not that different.
Yeah.
We believe in something and
Very
that's
passionate about something.
But when someone has a go at me
Yeah.
for going and doing it and then feeds their dog canned meat, like, something's ultimately dying for that dog to eat, their pet to eat, or they're driving their leather car. There's so many, unless you're literally a vegan living out in the bush without Instagram and phone service, because that's the only way you're sort of separate from it, and I'll actually listen to you without being
pets.
like...
Because I guarantee you, that, like, they're going to have a cat or a dog, and I'm going to be like, okay, that's cool. And, like, even if you feed it vegan dog food, which I strongly advise, because
that's
which I strongly
legit or-
advise because it's got like heaps of nutritional implications. Like, it's quite hard to do right. But anyway, that's another kettle of fish. But anyway, so just say you're feeding it a vegan diet and you've got this dog. It's like you're going to go to work for 8 hours a day and you're going to lock that dog in that yard. Like, I don't care what justification you have. Like, you know, unless you're taking your dog to work, like, in my opinion,
People argue that that's all that dog knows.
Yeah, but that deer
when
only,
you take it for a walk.
Exactly. Like, that deer only knows natural life. Like this, and
that's where I was. That's
and
what
it's not like, oh, I'm going to go and check
pry
on
out there.
And, like, we like to sort of think, oh, deer hunters are pricks because they're killing Bambi's dad. Bambi's dad doesn't want anything to fucking do with Bambi. He does not give a shit. He services the hind or the doe or whatever, and then he goes off, he casts his antlers, he's had a hard rut where he's fucking fought off all the rival mates.
Yeah.
He drops his antlers, and then his focus now for the next few months is eating the freshest, greenest pick and grass to regenerate those antlers, regrow them, just so that next year when he gets that window to go and breed again,
he can bash the next motherfucker.
He's in the best shape to do it. He does not give a fuck about Bambi.
Yeah.
It's us humans that go, oh my God, Bambi and his dad and all this, and we attach it to that. Whereas, people who argue, oh, that's all the dog knows, that's all the deer knows. And it's not, we're not going into this sort of, we've got high-tech equipment and compound bows and rifles and all this sort of stuff, and fishing rods and boats, and it's not like necessarily an even fight. Like, that's what people seem to say is, oh, but you've got, a fast bow with sights on it. It's like, yeah, but this deer has a fucking nose that can smell you from hundreds and thousands of meters away.
I feel like people don't understand how actually difficult it is.
No, it's
like you come out with us on a bow hunt and you'll quickly realise how difficult, even with all this high-tech gear, how difficult it is even to get, like, anything on the ground, let alone, something. But I guess, like, another thing is, like, in terms of eating red meat and getting it ourselves, like, I just made from an early age, like, the choice of making it my responsibility if I have a means of getting something, like, meat wise, and I have an opportunity to go and get it, like, I want, if I can go spearfishing, like, I won't buy fish.
Yeah.
Like, and I'll wait until I go spearfishing to get that stuff. And it just means that I have the responsibility to ethically go out and get that meat or that resource in the best possible way I can.
Yep.
Alternatively, you've got someone at home that may eat meat or, pescatarian, all that type of stuff, and eat some form of protein or use animal products in some way.
Yeah.
And they're comfortable judging you for doing it and getting your hands dirty, but they're just sitting there and they're leaving it to someone else, but they don't actually know full and well what's going on behind the scenes to get that steak in a packet at the end of the day. Whereas the thing is, I work in that industry, so, like, I see what goes on every day. And, like, the conversation I say to people all the time is, I'm like, just say you've got this 3-year-old deer that I've gone out, it's rarely ever seen humans, I stalk in 25 metres, shoot it through the lungs, it runs for 10 seconds and dies. Right?
You know where your meats come from.
Well, not even that. You've got cows, to just say most cattle that we get eaten in Australia are 2 years old, right? They live on a farm until they're 2 years old. In that stage, most likely they've been put in the yards probably 8 times. They don't know getting mustered into the yards and then getting vaccinated is actually to prevent them from getting sick and have diseases. In their mind, they're getting fucking chased by a predator into a structure, ran around the yards for a couple of hours, jabbed with pointy things, and then let free again. they don't know that, oh yeah, okay, Joe Blow Farmer is actually trying to help me. And like, I'm not like vaccinate your cattle, it's good. But like, but like, I'm just saying, like, these animals don't know, oh, you're actually trying to help me. They think, oh, you're trying to hurt me. And so, like, I'd rather have an animal that is free and wild that I then go out there, rarely had contact with humans, pretty much been able to do whatever it wants. You know, like the biggest burden I put on it was I had to jump over the fence rather than walk through.
Yeah.
Right? You know, that type of animal, then have an animal that, you know, it's raised for a purpose, like what Ayden was saying. It's got a shelf life. It's like, it doesn't know when it's going to, like, you know, and then it gets trucked and then it gets put through the abattoirs and then dies.
And we're at no point sort of slamming the beef.
Oh, for sure.
Like,
yeah, definitely. Like,
we're just saying,
not everyone can hunt. Like,
you're giving a comparison, basically.
That's
all.
And that's the thing. It's just like, it's people forming an opinion about. But yeah, like and that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying that if you go and get your meat from the shops that you're a bad person, because like not everyone could hunt. Like no way. Like not everyone could fish.
No.
Like we need these there's a reason. Like we couldn't support the populations on Earth without having in place agricultural systems, which we do.
Yep.
But it's all about like.
I know what
it's
you
just
mean.
like interesting that today in society we get seen as fishermen, spearfishermen, hunters, whatever. We get seen as this like massive majority where, and I think it's because people probably through like
it's the people that
media
don't
and
do it,
stuff-
haven't done it, haven't spoken to the people who have done it.
Yeah, and as hunters
Legitimate
and
people
stuff,
who've done it, like people that understand the whole experience of it.
Yeah,
Not
and that's
just,
where we're trying to put a massive emphasis on cooking now.
Yeah.
And this is probably like a bit of a transition into we can go down that topic.
I've got one more just to weave in there in between is, do you think we're so far removed, so let's wipe the biological perspective, do you think we're so far removed from the natural world that we're not an animal?
Well, that's
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Without it being like a biological thing, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think
Looking at it from that
it's
perspective.
easy, like, and that's probably like where majority of the sort of disgruntled opinions of fishermen and hunters and all that.
Well, do you know
comes
how
from.
like out of place you feel and look when you're in the natural world?
Yeah,
Like, you know
our
what I mean?
skin is like Joe Rogan says it best. Like our skin is like this nice little wrapping paper that's ready to just be broken open by a grizzly bear feeding on your organs. Like, it's funny how sort of like
Do you think that, and that definitely influences all this?
But that's why
controversial
our
shit.
brains are larger and we've built technology and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like and if we're not meant to be here, we'd be gone. And that's where like, I don't know.
I think some people are certainly like very removed, but I don't like. I guess it's
You don't have to be.
yeah.
And
You
that's
don't
what
have
I
to
was
be. That's
gonna
like
say.
our personal. I if I could just live in a little shack somewhere.
Yeah.
And
Live
like
off the
make
land.
hunting videos and cooking videos and somehow get them out to the outside world, like I'd probably do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's very few people that I generally classify as my friends.
Well, it's
like,
primal,
there's, you
man.
know, like,
It's primal
like,
as shit.
It's not even.
We've-
People say it is primal. Like you sort of.
But like it's
just
our
like-
roots. Do you know? Like,
Yeah.
Well, that's where.
It's just
like-
a
like our-
connection.
like
it's-
everyone's-
Yeah.
I don't know one person that doesn't like a fire.
Well,
A
that's
campfire. Like there's not a motherfucker on this
First TV,
earth that
yeah.
doesn't like a fire. I swear to God.
Well, that's when the smoke's blowing straight into your face. Which for me is just like, I'll move like every quarter, like, you know, it's just like,
Yeah.
oh, it hates me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know what you're saying.
I don't know. I feel like people are failing to acknowledge the primal sort of, history is the wrong choice of word, but you get what I mean.
Our
like the
ancestors,
connection
every
we
single
have.
person that's here on this earth today has
And then-
come from a hunter-gatherer.
Yeah, and then people argue that we don't have to do it anymore, but we do it in some way.
We don't
like
have
with
to
cattle.
drive Teslas, but you know, people like nice cars.
Yeah.
Like,
We don't have to-
have to
Yeah.
have aircon and stuff because we never did.
Well,
But
cattle still, like you wouldn't call it probably hunting, but it's a similar system. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, it's
I feel.
I just like I think that majority of people all come from the exact same place,
Yeah.
and then minorities are doing it as hunters and fishermen, but we get like bashed for doing it, and it's just that's where I think if anyone's willing to have like an actual conversation with me, I'll definitely have that conversation. Generally, we sort of see eye to eye, and it's like, they're not so different to me. It's just that.
And they might still disagree.
Oh,
and
for
they'll
sure.
have
Yeah.
a better rounded.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love
Understanding
talking
of it,
to
I guess.
vegans and vegetarians at like dinner parties.
Poor old
It's
vegans
great.
copping it.
No,
Oh, but it's like, they're not even copping it. Like
But they think
if
they're
your
coming
decision-
from this purest place where,
Yeah.
like, I have no involvement in the natural world. I don't eat meat. I don't go hunting. I don't do this. I drive an electric car, whatever. But you still, at the end of the day, eat plant matter, which millions of insects get sprayed. Like there's no,
Yeah.
if you're a human in this modern day world, you have an impact like on the earth and the natural system. Like there's no escaping that. And, you know, we're trying by hunting to sort of connect and
But
like
you're
be a
providing
participant
education
in it.
as well. Like,
Yeah.
like even like this podcast, like the shit you're talking about, like there's a lot of value in a lot of this stuff and a lot of understanding. Like I'm learning stuff as I'm going along too. I feel like
We're just making it completely up.
yeah,
I haven't known. I'm not actually a veterinarian, guys. I'm a painter. Like I'm Greek.
No,
maybe a
you
tile
being a
maker.
veterinarian
You sound
doesn't
well.
I am.
mean
It's
that
a
you're
lot.
correct, like at
Yeah,
all
true.
either. Like at the end of the day,
It
all
does.
of this conversation is based on our opinions, and we could be completely wrong to someone else,
Mm.
and that's fine. But you know, it doesn't mean that. And I'm not dismissing anyone
Yeah.
that disagrees with me. It's just this is where I'm coming from. This is what I sort of believe in and why.
yeah.
And it's
But I
just
feel
like
like
a
that-
starting point.
Like regardless whether it's controversial topics or not, if you're providing like an education, you don't not justifying yourself, but like just giving people information regarding what you do and why you do it. I feel like there's huge value in that.
Yeah. And that's where the amount of people, like, again, bringing it
You
back
got allergies.
bringing it back to, like, my sort of involvement with those footy boys who, like, they're my good mates, but they just couldn't understand how I could kill an animal. But
Yeah.
some of them, it's funny enough, like, ironically, because we're on, like, sort of a flow state
See,
fishing
don't-
podcast.
Yeah.
These boys would happily go out and hook a snapper in the bay in Victoria and fight it and then take a picture with it and throw it away, like, release it. But they had an issue with me shooting a deer that inadvertently dies 10 seconds later because I shot it, you know, lethally through the heart or lung.
That's right.
And it's just, they couldn't sort of understand how I found that as quite, you know, hypocrisy. So we got
So Frankie's here running. Frankie's running the fuck.
Get the peanut butter.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to sort of recap the previous, because I'm going to split this into 2 episodes. I just decided about 10 minutes ago.
So lock in the next 3 hours.
I just feel like, well, that's just a recap and like added a little bit more information to sort of round out the conversation we had. But now I want to talk. Lots I want to talk about. But let's break up. Let's talk about Hungry Hunter. What is it? How do people find it?
Do you want to intro Twin Element?
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
probably
go-
starts...
Go to the whole
Talk all your
structure.
brand shit. Yeah.
Sorry, my name's James Doumtsis, and this is my brother Ayden Doumtsis, because I don't think we did introductions.
No,
at the
we don't.
start.
I never do.
No,
Oh, don't
that's
you?
all right. But
No, but it doesn't matter. It's fine.
anyway, so yeah, we're obviously pretty avid hunters and have grown up hunting since like the age of 4. And then part of that, as you've heard in the previous episode, potentially.
Where
Not sure
are we?
what's going on.
Welcome
But
back, everyone.
as you would have heard anyway, we're right into our hunting, and then we've always grown up eating basically what we shoot, and we take like a lot of pride in process, knowing how to butcher an animal, the anatomy, all that side of things. So, and then through having like our own social media accounts, we often had a lot of people saying, "Oh, dude, I didn't know that you could do that with a deer," or "What the hell are you doing that with a pig? Can you eat pig? Can you do like feral pigs?"
Yep.
Holy shit, like, how do you cook that? Just simple questions that we're like, how do these people not know that?
Yep.
And we're not by no means experts or chefs or anything like this.
So what's
or-
Twin Elements first?
Twin Elements was literally just like an umbrella over both James and my social
Media
media
stuff, yep.
accounts.
Yeah.
And it's like probably more of a branded.
Because that's where this stuff's coming
towards-
from, hey?
Yeah.
So Hungry Hunter is incorporated into, I guess,
Like a segment, I guess.
So it started last year. So we like, you know, initially it was all Ayden. So like from a young age, Ayden, you know, from 13, 14, like we were always out together, but he really enjoyed the photography and the media side of it.
Yep.
And I did too, but I wasn't, I guess, as passionate about it. And then after I went to uni for 5 years, and Ayden
It was like dragging an anchor, to be blunt. I'm like, James,
come on.
Let's just like, you know, because I, from a young age, like was, and it sounds weird, but was one of the first probably Australians to have hunting on YouTube. Like there was very few of us. And this is going back years and years. And I used to get like grown men messaging me and emailing me being like, holy crap, like your hunting is inspiring me to go and do it myself, blah, blah, blah. And then from that, we just like, and to be honest, I was probably one of those people that focused so much on the kill. And that's like what, because, you know, that's what most people, when they want to watch hunting, focus on it. It's not until we sort of get into like Renala and Meat Eater where and now modern day times where we're scrutinized so heavily that it's like, yeah, I eat the meat, but I never used to portray it. Whereas it's like, and it was probably a bit of a like.
It's like the missing, so the end piece. Like everyone goes, oh
Missing link.
I'm doing the hunt.
We were focusing on the 1%.
Killed the animal. Here's the trophy.
But
end of film.
even with our hunting videos, so like we initially started Twin Elements with the thought of like Hungry Hunter was never a
I'm
thing.
just turning around.
Sorry, Hungry Hunter
this
was
one's
never
gonna
a
come
thing.
All good.
Like we initially started Twin Elements because we wanted to incorporate and start producing better hunting media where we actually described. It wasn't just going to be like a minute video of me going in there and shooting a deer or a pig or whatever, or a rabbit.
Because that's not what happened.
It's not like that's the thing. Like we wanted to show the 2 or 3 days or week or 10 days or the 4
story,
trips
like
that
ultimately.
it
So you're
takes.
talking like planning, prep.
Yeah, like
hunt,
we want to show
and-
people like a lifestyle that we are so passionate about, and like especially hunting with the bow, like it's not a very quick process. Like it's something like we're just as much out there to experience, the culture and like the environment of where we are as we are to just go and shoot an animal.
Yeah.
And then so we wanted to show those stories through our media and actually like share with people that they may not get to go and walk in New Zealand and show what it's like and show like the hiking side and the wildlife side and all that type of stuff. And then if we're lucky enough to actually shoot something, well then fantastic. And then we also get the added bonus of being able to take that meat, which we previously weren't showing anything for, but we show dribs and drabs on our social medias, and like what Ayden was saying before, like we get these people messaging us and being like, oh my god, that's like such an incredible recipe, can you share it with me? And I'll flick it, or like oh shit, what did you put in your sausages, or wow, how did you do that with your hamburgers, or whatever, like all these recipes. And then I guess we started talking and being like, well, there's sort of a lot of people, and obviously like meat eater is such a big thing, and like people wanting to know where their food comes from, but also I think what you were saying before, like a lot of people just don't really know how to cook wild game that well. Like, or they taste it once and then they go, oh no, that's shit, that's just going to be dog meat forever. And they shoot all these great deer and pigs and stuff, and they're like, oh, we'll just cut the back legs off and stuff. Yeah.
I feel like the gamey aspect, like people treat that gamey aspect as yuck.
Yeah.
And like you can make it less gamey, but it's still gamey.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you're not sort of
familiar with it.
Yeah, like familiar with that taste. But it's delicious.
And unfortunately, you only need one bad experience.
Yeah.
Like if you feed some new person, dinner guest or whatever, some old buck that, unfortunately you didn't clean that well
Pissed
or
all over
whatever.
himself.
Yeah.
Pissed all over himself.
And that's what people attribute it with.
For 2 years, you pulled it out because you didn't want to buy steaks for him. You don't really like your mother-in-law and you whip that out.
Yeah.
But that's what they have that one bad experience and they're like, oh, game meat's terrible, it's so gamey, every bit of game is the exact same. Whereas like for me, like my ex-girlfriend actually came off a cattle property and then she was like she had a massive stigma with, I'm not eating like filthy deer, blah, blah, blah. Do you know what I mean? And I was like, what do you mean? Like, let me just cook some for you and you can try it. And, it was sort of like really important to me because this is someone I was sharing my life with to actually, like, I'm like, if I can't show her the benefits of game meat and like not buying beef until she goes home, it's like I'm fighting a losing battle. Like I'm never going to get across to anyone. And literally just did like a salt and pepper steak from a backstrap, which is probably one of the better cuts. But that was just like the entry point into getting it on her plate and then she was like, holy crap, this is mouth-watering. I cooked it medium rare, which is how I'd cook beef anyway. People seem to like overcook venison, especially. But it's just, you don't do that. Like it's like if you have a certain cut of beef that is prone to drying out, you won't cook it for a long time, or you'll cook it low and slow. Yeah. So it's just like you've got to work with what you've got in front of you, and that's where, as a cattle property owner's daughter, she was used to having her beef like immaculate. I think they're like Meat Standards Australia accredited. Like, so she is used to the best. Yeah. And when she had this mouthful of venison, and it was simply like just seared on the barbecue, like a minute each side, medium rare in the middle, just salt and pepper sort of crust, she was like, holy shit, this just tastes like beef. And for me, that was like this massive reassurance. It's like, all right, she's a keeper and blah, blah, blah. Like, it's all good. We're going to get along. But it's just like, that's sort of the case. Like, I don't have anyone that goes, holy shit, what is this? This is disgusting. Get it out of my mouth. Yeah. Like, no one, if it's cooked correctly and properly, is like offended by venison or game meat in general. And that's where, like, through eating, we probably used to be a bit of a snob in terms of we used to just take the back legs and back straps because it was easier. But then obviously through doing a vet degree in anatomy and sort of working things out and taking more of an invested interest into, again, like that full circle of if you're shooting something, you may as well take everything. And like now we take, which like organs like, you know, the heart and like the greater omentum, which is like this sort of, you'll probably better describe it better, but it's like a fatty covering over
just
the
a fatty sheath that sort of covers the intestines in the abdominal cavity, but it's just like
it's like looks like
it's like a
veiny
meshwork.
Yeah, well, that's all
and
just
people wrap shit in that, don't they?
Yeah, so it's great. So it's like
burgers.
it's really good for putting like people put in their burgers, but it's, like so I do like a kebab style thing where you know, you go and shoot a goat or something like that. You take that, when you take the eye fillets out, you cut them into like inch sections, put in like capsicum in between it as well, and then what's it called, red onion, and then you wrap it in that, and then by the time that the omentum has actually burnt off,
it'll render it down.
it renders it through.
It's the fat, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
And it
like,
just
while
keeps
that's
everything
burning off,
That sounds delicious.
Oh, so while that's burning off, you're not only like it tells you how long you need to cook it for. So while that's burning off, it's rendering and keeping the meat moist and tender, right? And then as soon as it's all cooked, you're like, okay, that's all done, and the meat's done. Let's whip it off, you know. And then you put it into wraps, or you cook it up. Put it with veggies or a side or something like that. But like there's little tricks and stuff like that where like but you'd look at it like if you were butchering, you'd look at it and be like, what the fuck is that? Because you've got this like spider's web white looking weird shit that you're just about to put
That covers the
you think about it
intestines.
like if you describe to most people like, oh yeah, I'm gonna whip this out of the gut because it covers all the guts. Like I'm gonna pull this sheet weird looking white thing out of the gut cavity, out of the abdominal cavity, and cover my meat in it. They'd be like, you're fucking nuts. Like you are proper nuts. You know, like,
but it's the exact same as like, you know, like going back years and years, like the tongue used to be this thing that was sawed over. Shanks used to be this thing that was like a staple.
I remember
and
like
cheap.
so I grew up
and it
where
was-
there was like the sheep industry was huge. Shanks were dog food.
Oh,
and they're
was
like
insane.
the most delicious.
And now they're
fucking
charged
thing.
$30 for a plate. It's
bullshit.
the turnaround. But that's again, people, go, you know, like it's now stylish to have
social-
Shanks because
social
it's
perception.
like, and that's where, sort of to answer your question, which was the original, like, where did Hungry Hunter come from? Was Twin Elements is like our broad umbrella. Like that's, if you want to get onto us, it's Twin
You guys
Elements.
are really good at rounding conversations out, eh? Really good. Like,
We've got two of us.
it's fucking
But like,
nail
I'm
on.
trying to like get back to it.
Yeah.
but
We're actually discussing things
With-
between each other right now in our heads.
with Hungry Hunter, that was through like the necessity of
Yeah.
just trying to like make, you know, simple things that we do every day and like probably overlook that much more accessible to the masses. And like that's where we've got a YouTube channel. So, and you know, if we're getting thousands of views and we get, you know, 10 people out of that 1,000 views going, holy shit, I'm going to start taking the whole back leg and not just like deboning it in the field and leaving like half the shank, because now I've got, you know, I only need 4 back legs, and that's a massive meal for my family. That's easy. I can put in a slow cooker and come back to after a busy day of work. And that's, you know, like just all these little things that sort of like, again, we've probably like done a poor job of representing hunting, and like we're passionate about it too, which is, and if we can sort of,
What do you mean poor job of representing hunting?
in the past, like we didn't show that.
Well, that's everyone. That everyone progresses.
No,
through that,
but
I
that's
suppose.
that's where sort of this desire for like getting Hungry Hunter up and going was probably through really going like, we've probably failed as people who are passionate about hunting and want to put it in a good light, because for us, eating it just comes natural. Like,
Well, there's
we
more
eat
value
it.
in the process.
Yeah,
I'm big on the
exactly.
process because like, with everything, because you've come from that where you didn't give too much of a shit and you just took the back end because it was easy.
Yeah.
And now you've come all the way through to like adding value and understanding, plus utilizing more of the meat and everything like that, and then value adding further by educating people on how you can use that.
I get a bit. Wow, what was that? I
was a
guess
stroke. That was a stroke.
I guess sometimes my mouth isn't as fast as my brain. No, I guess like it also like talking about experiences and stuff like so. It developed for me personally, like meeting people like Benny Currell, like, you know, that fellow talking, the fishing guide, and then I had another mate, Tommy, like that was someone that was would discuss, you know, like, you know, like, you know, you can use the neck like a shank. you know, exactly the same. It's got a lot of cartilaginous tissue, which once you cook it for 4 to 6 hours, it's going to melt down and it's just going to melt in your mouth, and it's got that gooey, gelatinous consistency. You know, you get a good tomato sort of, or red wine base to that. You serve that up to anyone and they're going to love it.
Yeah. It's like ribs though. Like ribs,
people fuck up ribs even just
so
general
easy.
like beef and shit, like people fuck them up.
I would hate to think about how many like ribs, there's obviously 2 sides on every animal pretty much, get left in the bush. And it's like, just like, it's a real controversy where it's like, you know, they don't weigh that much, but they're such an easy meal. You literally can boil them and then set
a lot of
them
hunters
aside
cook
for
them
the next day.
on the spot. Like obviously it's dudes in America and stuff that
but that's
they're
the thing,
hunting
like,
colder climates, but they
then,
cook them that night, don't they?
There's so many different methods, but even then, like with the Hungry Hunter, I guess, like where a lot of the time, like we're doing in the field cooking as well, but that'll be like very simple dishes. Like a lot of the time we'll be cooking in a kitchen because like that's where we want to replicate, like where people are most of the like they're not going to shoot deer. Like I'm going to cook the whole deer right here in this 2 days out in the kitchen, out in the bush, because most of the time when you're out in the bush, all they do is just slap it on the fire and burn the shit out of it, and then they go, oh, this is so good because they're eating it right there, which it does taste good because it's there. But like we want to show, whether it's out in the field or whether it's in the kitchen, like we want to show techniques and recipes that are easy but also just taste incredibly good. And so like when you were talking about the ribs, like, you know, I've certainly chucked ribs and just whacked them onto like a hot plate, like, you know, and left them there. But then you go to eat them and like it's pretty cool because you're sort of like gnawing at something like on a bone.
Caveman shit.
It's real primal.
It's like
I love that shit, man.
It's great. But then like if you want to make those ribs taste unreal, like you're better off taking them home. You know, if you want to chuck something on real quick and eat it primal, like out there, the best thing is going to be the backstrap because it's got like no connective tissue in it. Clean it up, chuck it on there for a minute, chuck it over there a minute, charcoal it on the fire. It's going to have cool like charcoal lines on it. You cut it up into like, you know, pieces and you'll eat it and it'll be 10 out of 10 every time. You know? With the ribs, like, you know, you're better off going home and like such simple recipes, you just cut it into, you know, 2 rib sections, chuck it into a pot for 3 hours until it's pretty much falling off the bone, and then just marinate it in whatever you want. So like we make teriyaki sauce and barbecue sauce and stuff, but you can just buy a teriyaki sauce, do that, put a bit of garlic in it. It's already cooked. You rock up at your mate's dinner party or whatever, and you've got these pre-done ribs. You just chuck them in a Weber or a Traeger or a smoke, anything you want, for 15 minutes and let the sauce just go all gooey and caramelized.
Here come these fucking boys with their game meat again.
Oh, and then that's it. Mate, I make ribs for everyone because it is the easiest selling point. And it's like it's seen as like a waste cut of meat. You serve them up these ribs that just like mouth-watering tender, like sticky, smoky, like sweet. You got like all that stuff, and it's just falling in, like melt in your mouth meat. Chewing it off a bone. And you bring that to any dinner party, and I guarantee you they will be fucking lining up.
How good is cooking over coals or fire in general, hey?
Oh, it's unreal.
Like smoking.
It's what camping is all about, though. Like, it's like, what, you know, it's like you can cook on a gas cooker, and it'll take 10 minutes, or you can go out there, it takes 20 minutes to go on, like, 10 minutes to collect the wood, 10 minutes or 15 minutes for the fire, like the coals to burn down.
It's the process,
so man.
And that's why I named, like, Flow State what it is, because of the process. Because, like, it's doing that, you don't even think about doing it.
Yeah, it's relaxing too. Like, you know that the thing that you've gone and put hard work into is now just like prepare it. Like, it's self-basting, like chuck it in the camp oven, do whatever, put it on the coals.
You're thinking about cooking it and you're already doing the stuff in the zone. And I do a lot of cooking, sort of barbecue, a lot of barbecue like stuff. I don't get my hands on game meat very often, but we'll
have to sort you out.
Well, I'll trade for fish. I'm definitely keen to do that. Favorite recipes?
Man, ribs. I love ribs. Heart, actually.
Heart.
I've shifted. Like, people are like, oh, can I have some meat? And I give the backstraps away.
Can you? How big's the heart on a chittle? Like, if you've heart lunged it.
Like,
probably
a bit bigger than
so it's decent. So you can trim around the shit.
So like in terms of the heart,
it's easy enough for a meal. Like,
let's talk. So let's give people who don't have an idea. So you've killed the animal. You're going to take the heart out. Process from taking it out to plate.
Right.
Let's go deep.
Maybe.
We can both sort of tackle it, but I think like the things that like I reckon a lot of people overlook is like, let's just get straight into it, and like you want to, but carrying like a little tarp in your backpack and being able to put that animal on a tarp and just get a base layer and separate it from the earth and the grass is one of the biggest things. And then like it depends on
even like a little like we use them in vet all the time, but like to pick up cows' feet and do carvings and stuff. But like a pulley, like having like a 2 meter pulley with like a triangle on it. So you just like chuck that over a branch. You got a locking pulley system. You just like, pull that up. You've got a hanging animal in the field. Like it makes it so much, firstly, more sterile. So you're not getting
way easier to skin without getting shit all over it.
And hair over it. It's like a lot easier to skin with gravity. So like it helps the whole process. But carrying one of those triangles and a pulley system in your backpack, like especially most afternoon hunts or morning hunts, like you're not walking. It's not a backpack hunt. You're not walking most hunts. You're not walking 10Ks. Like most average hunter would walk like a K and a half in their car. So like having that in the field, it's just like one of those little tools that makes the process so much easier.
And that's where like at the end of the day, you are in the field, so there will be imperfections. Like you're not at an abattoir where everything's perfect.
Yeah.
But to remove that organic matter, hair, all that sort of stuff is obviously gets you that much closer to that desirable product, which is what people, especially if you're trying to recruit new people into eating
hunting
game
and
meat,
eating,
is they want something that comes and presents them in a package with no hair on it. There's no blood clots. There's none of this.
Stink, doesn't taste heavily gamey.
Exactly. And that's where for us, like the first thing is to make sure your environment's clean. Yeah. Then like if some people just literally start on the back, take the back straps out and knock the back legs off. And that's like an approach that as long as they're taking meat, great, good on them.
Yep.
That may be where it finishes, and they don't even have to enter the chest cavity. It's very clean, sort of, because they haven't messed with the guts. It's and they've still got plenty of meat on it.
Like they've probably got 50% of the meat realistically in the back legs and back straps.
But it is a partial thing. Whereas if you want a holistic sort of way and go, I'm going to shoot one deer every 6 months, and that's my hunting done, but I'm going to live off it for 6 months. I would personally start with putting the deer on a tarp or something, or hanging up, and getting rid of the guts straight away. So that would be like an incision down the ventral side or the underbelly, basically. And then you can go further, and you can basically, as you do for skinning an animal for like a floor rug, where you then take your knife, up each leg, the front legs, all the way up to the neck. Because obviously you're not just trying to get the guts, which are down in the abdomen. You want to get the trachea, the esophagus, which is carrying all this plant matter. Realistically, get rid of the head as soon as possible. It's graphic, but it's like that's what they're doing in the abattoirs. So they're removing it like that. And then you're trying to get this clean sort of frame of meat and bone and everything else away from it. And as you do the guts, you're taking out the heart. You can take the liver. You can take the omentum from the guts.
You're real like anal with the piss bag.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the fucking scariest part of the whole thing.
But even cut it probably more like piss bags. Yes, but more like the rumen, like which is the big stomach in most things, or like it is literally.
It's all a learning curve too.
You'll hit heaps of stomachs and stuff. Like especially like if you've shot an animal like quartering away and stuff. Like normally you've hit gut content, so that's why it's also very important to as quickly. Like everything's based off a time thing. So like if you had, no, we're not going to dive down that. But so like everything like bacterial replication is based off time. Right. So removing the gut content, removing the hair. Right, you're trying to like if you've got
and cooling the carcass down.
If you've got one bacteria,
by cleaning out the cavity.
Oh, literally, like you're starting to cool it. Even if it's 30 degrees outside, that's going to be cooling it down because that wind you're going to put in the shade. It's 10 degrees cool in the shade. The wind's going on it. It's going to get a seal on it, which decreases bacterial replication. If you've got 20 million bacteria sitting on the meat there, it only needs to replicate once or twice, and it's probably you're going to get a bit crook from it. Like you're going to feel a bit crook, whereas innately, like there's not much bacteria. Like if you like, I'll be cutting backstrap and I'll eat a section because it's like there's no bacteria in that meat. Like that animal is physically healthy. Like it's all fine. But as soon as you start putting hair onto it, like our skin have millions and billions of bacteria on it. So you don't want hair touching. You don't want gut content touching.
This is all probably getting like way too
anal too. I know what you mean. But like, it's a good thing to touch on.
In short, like the sooner you get those guts out and open the cavity, if it's hanging or on a tarp, whatever. Depends on what you want to do, but I normally peel the skin off, and then it's like in the field, it's how can I quickly get that back to one, you've got to carry it. So I prefer to carry stuff in quarters, like especially it depends on size and that of the game or whatever you've shot. But generally, if it's a chital deer, it's like in quarters, front legs, back legs, all go in. They're all sort of like.
We use meat bags or like pillowcases because they're like plastic bag. It's just like eating quality. So plastic, so big garbage bag and stuff. They sweat. Like the meat actually sweats. Whereas we also have like
a cloth, aren't they?
Yeah, literally I use pillowcases. Like I'll go to what's it called, like Salvos, and just go in there and just buy like 10 $1 bags, and then once they get stained up and shit, you just sell them.
Yep.
But yeah, like in terms of going to get the heart, so yeah, like Ayden said, you've just gutted the animal. You actually go in through the diaphragm that way. Like you can break up along the brisket area to get, like when I'm getting the ribs, that's what I'll do. Like I'll separate the ribs near the actual skeleton, and then I'll separate it at the brisket, and then you go in there and you, like, people do eat lung. I don't really like it. So, like, I don't take the lung, but I'll then take the heart.
We've often probably, like, in terms of sizing, we're aiming for heart lungs to be efficient and have that animal down quickly. But most of the time, you're shooting through lungs. It's a larger sort of organ.
But even then, like, there's, a lot of vessels that come straight off the top of the heart. So even if you're hitting lungs, like, often you're hitting those vessels, which you imagine, like, they're as thick as your thumb because they're supplying blood to the whole body. And so you don't necessarily need to hit the heart for the animal to die very quickly.
Yep.
So, so we've got the heart out. So then, like we said, we put it into a meat bag, take that back. You're cooling it down as quickly as possible. In terms of the cooking process, it depends on how you want to eat it. So you can actually, like, I've stuffed them like you do stuffed capsicums and stuff. So you obviously need to get a few, like, you're not going to just do one stuffed heart. You want to grab, like, a couple. And that's where, like, you can buy heart from Woolies and stuff. It's just, like, little small lamb hearts, but they still taste great. Like, it's a great introductory if people want to try. Like, just go and grab them. But yeah, you cut the top. Like, I actually cut the top off. So you, like, all the top of the heart, not the pointy section, is where the vessels and stuff come out.
They're all like hard cartilaginous.
Like they're. Well, not only, like, the heart actually has a fat, like a fat reserve sort of on it.
Yep.
And that's just like where fat gets deposited. It's not like beef fat where it, like, gelatinizes. Like, even in cows, it doesn't, like, when you cook it, it doesn't, like, render out and give you that, oh cool, like, T-bone steak, yummy fat taste. It's like it will stay hard and tallowy and shit.
Yeah.
So, like, I generally just cut, like, the top third off the heart because you're also getting rid of all those elastic vessels.
Yep.
Then I'll go in there and sort of open it up like a big sheet, and I'll take the valves out of the inside of the heart. So the valves are also, like, tendony and sort of like, you don't want to eat them for eating quality. And then depending what I'm doing, so, like, if I'm just cooking it up there and then, like, I'll literally just cut it into sort of like 1 inch thick bits and then just fry it up in a pan with a bit of oil and butter, salt and pepper. Unreal. Love
Delicious.
it. Like, so good. When you're, like, butchering up deer, like, just you put a hot plate there, or if you got a fire going, like, boom, done. Cook them up. 3-4 minutes later, you've got all, like, it tastes, like, the way I describe it to people is it tastes like a steak. Like, you have everything in an animal that, like, the game animals we shoot, it tastes most like a steak, but has the consistency of an octopus or squid. So it's sort of like a bit rubbery, but tastes like steak. Yeah. Right? Unreal in that, just, like, cooking up in a pan, oil, garlic, if you want. But another really good recipe is turning into sort of like, you cook up, put a bit of bacon in there, red onion, capsicum, like, start sort of frying that up. Sort of South American flavors, I guess. You can put in some seasoning and stuff like that. Add the heart in as well, cook it, and then if you want, you can turn it into sort of, like, you can do that like that and put that on toast, like if you've got good bread with a bit of butter. Or if you want to turn that into, like, an omelette, so chuck a couple of eggs, like, mix up a big thing, chuck a couple of eggs in there, put that on toast, like, that's really good. Like,
at the end of the day, what we're trying to do through, like, Hungry Hunter is show you how to clean it. And once it's clean, the possibilities are endless. Like, understanding that it's a cut of meat that has that sort of texture, and then that's how long it should be cooked for. They're the main principles that we're trying to teach. We're not trying to say, like, you should cook your heart with this every single time. But once you understand how to cook a backstrap, you
basic
know how
principles of cooking,
and that's all it is.
It's the same with, like, once you know how to cook shanks, you know how to cook. That's what I'm saying. Like, you know how to cook neck, you know how to cook, some of the tougher muscles in the back legs. Also, you know how to cook the front legs. Like, it's all like, you can. It's just, we're trying to teach really good basic fundamental principles and, like, very versatile.
So it's not just recipes.
No, and it's like it could be just gear too. Like, we overlook that we carry saws. Like, you can carry like a reciprocal saw, or you can carry just a handheld saw.
Fuck yeah, Recipro in a backpack for sure,
like,
man.
It really depends on how
that'd make you want to cut bone, like, ribs off and shit like that, or what?
And that's where, like, personally, I'm massive on get your guts out, get your, like, heart, whatever cuts. And then it's like, I try and be practical as possible and go, all right, I can get X amount of meat out in kilograms on my back in one trip. If I can get the whole thing out in one trip, I'll do it because it's quicker and faster. If I need to make two trips because it's going to be quicker and not bust myself, I do that. But I try and keep things in cuts, and then I can hang it easier as a whole back leg. Even though that back leg's got 10 different styles of meat cuts in there. You know, you got your rounds, you got your top side, all these sort of cuts that, again, it's not different to a cow. It's literally like a deer and a
Very
cow.
similar.
They've got the same muscles in there.
But
Getting that in a cool room and then letting it actually age for like 7 days, you know, where it's hanging, all those muscle fibers start to relax again, and you're not eating something that's gamey and chewy because you've got the meat, you've got the hair off it early, you've let it hang properly. Like, no one from an abattoir goes, oh, bang, dead, you know, captive bolt or electrocution, slaughter, like exsanguination or whatever. Here, eat it right now. That never happens with you know, beef and produce and all
and
that
they
sort
also
of stuff.
process it properly, and they don't just wrap it in some Glad wrap, chuck it in the freezer, let it get frostburn, pull it out 2 years later with hair on it,
and then be
still.
angry at it.
And there's nothing
and then like
wrong
regretfully eat
Yeah.
it. Like,
and there's nothing wrong with like shooting a deer and having a backstrap on the fire that night, because that's part of that process, and that's why we have like that ancestral sort of relation. But it's like, you can't, like, 100%, we do it all the time.
Yeah.
But to get, like, part of what I think Hungry Hunter is trying to, like, recruit people to utilize meat and maybe bring it to...
Utilize more of the meat as well.
More meat, more cuts. Some people
Bring it
might
in a
say, I'm
better
never
light.
going to
Even
eat
like-
heart, which we're fine with. But it's like, you know, ribs, if you eat pork ribs at the shops or beef ribs, why not eat deer ribs? It's the exact same. And we're just trying to show you how easy it is so that, you know, they don't get left behind. And that's sort of like our approach.
if you love lamb shanks, maybe try doing it with a deer neck.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and it's not only like showing, hopefully getting people to just take one more little bit of meat and sort of utilizing a resource better, but it's also getting people, like, more people into the, like, inspiring people to actually become hunters and wanting to go and get, like, you know, spend time in the land, like, you know, see what's out there for themselves, and at the end of the day, like, hopefully get some meat to take home and share with their family and friends too. Because it's just like, even like the whole process of, I guess, why we did this, like going back to the whole Twin Elements stuff as well, is like Ayden started it, and then I was more passionate about like videoing and stuff because it was like a way that we documented personally for our own thing. Like initially, like I wasn't really interested in sharing with, like, Ayden was putting up on YouTube, and I was like, okay, that's all cool and stuff. But it was a way that we would document like our own.
Yeah, like Dad, for example, he's not going to hunt forever. When he's 80 or whatever, he's going to be able to go and watch our hunts and films and memories and journeys.
That's another thing why I started this shit. So I can, like, when I'm on my deathbed, if I ever get there
absolutely.
and don't die some fucked up way, it's just like lay on my deathbed, plug a hard drive in, or plug it into the TV or whatever, and just like play the videos I've watched or listen to the people I've spoken to.
People that say like, oh, that's so egotistical. It's like, no, it's not. It's really not. Just like, it's capturing them again.
But how good would it be to round out your life that way?
Yeah,
because I think a lot of people, I'm getting a little bit off track, but a lot of people don't realise like the sobering fact that we're all gonna fucking die.
Yeah,
and it could be fucking tomorrow. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like a lot of people, like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna die, but it's ages away. Like I feel like a lot of people don't realise that.
Yeah.
Just on that note, anyway.
Yeah.
I had, what was the question? Two questions actually on the Hungry Hunter stuff. So what cuts do hunters waste the most? Well, I know a lot of people kill pigs and just kill pigs and walk away from them. So let's go pigs, let's go deer, let's go those two.
Well,
what are the main ones? Ribs were one of them.
Yeah. So like I'll tackle the pigs one. So like
you do that, I'm gonna go to the loo, I'm busting.
So I get asked like all the time because I actually love wild pork. So we did a test with our mum a couple of years ago where we had pigs, like, and I'm not advising eating every wild pig that you come across. Like, you know, you obviously want ones in good condition that, you know, preferably feeding on green feed and crop and that type of stuff. Like, you know, obviously feeding on carrion and stuff increases the risk and just like decreases eating quality too if they're in just like terrible condition. But like eating, you know, taking that animal home that you've just shot, we took it home to mum. These were like 40 kilo pigs, great condition, you know, had an inch of fat on their back. And we got mum to go to the shops and buy these like unreal pork roasts, and we cooked them up side by side. And we made mum try both and tell the difference. And she's like, oh, this one, initially she didn't even want to eat it, but she's like, this one's heaps better. And she's like, which one's that one? We're like, that's the one that we shot. And like, you can distinctly tell, like, it tastes so much better.
It actually had flavour.
Yeah, that's right. Like the flavour profiles are different because like flavour profiles are developed in the fat, which happens like over time and depends on like what the animals are eating. So if you imagine they're just eating like a mundane grain diet every day as opposed to eating like roots and vegetables and different type of vegetation matter, as they graze across, like, in the paddocks and stuff, like they're not confined to just eating one type of grass and grain, or like if they're in a stall or whatever, like just a complete diet that's formulated for them. So like the eating quality is generally better too. But in terms of like the health risk side of it, so
We're still on pigs?
we're still on pigs.
Cool.
back.
Didn't divert to talking about dicks
Yeah.
and shit?
No,
No, okay.
we did a little bit. Rennie jumped in for a bit, and no, but so like in terms of like the risk side, like I get asked all the time, being like, man, aren't you going to die of this and brucellosis and
parasites
like and this and that? And it's just like, okay, so that's the thing. So I initially didn't eat much. I didn't eat pork until I became a veterinarian, and it's purely because we learn about all the diseases that pigs get in domestic settings, right? And so in the wild settings, it's exactly the same. But then through the abattoir process, wild pigs and domestic pigs get the exact same diseases. That's what people don't realise, right? But it's just that the processes put in place in domestic processing decreases the risk of eating it. So all I do is I do in my own home setting those processes to decrease the risk of me getting sick. So like obviously big one, E. coli, which is in like every animal's shit, right?
Yeah.
Right? So E. coli is in shit. So you decrease, when you're butchering, you're sterile and you don't get fecal material onto the meat you're eating. Very similarly, you don't allow that bacteria, like you can get E. coli in there. If there's one bacteria, that's fine.
Yeah.
If you put that in the fridge, E. coli replicates once every 25 hours. So if you've got 10 in there, every 25 hours in the fridge is going to go to 20 and then 40 and then, so on and so forth.
Yeah, it's
right?
shitting, pissing yourself and spewing it in hospital.
That's right. But like, that's one part of it. So like being sterile when you butcher, right? Which they obviously do in abattoirs. Like they just can't cut a knife down it, or the guts fall out and half of it gets covered on the meat. That doesn't happen. Like that carcass would be condemned, right? So butchering is a big process of it. The next thing is there's a couple of diseases. So like everyone goes, oh, what about worms, right? So worms, a lot of the pigs aren't going to have worms, and even then it's often in the offal, which I don't eat in pigs. So I don't eat pig's heart, don't eat pig's liver, don't eat anything like that, right? But a lot of the time it's in those organs. And the way that you prevent it, even like there's beef and pigs in Australian domestic industry that get infested with worms that wild pigs get, right? But all they do is they put them in freezers at minus 15 degrees for a week. And what that does is it causes the cysts that actually have like the larval stage worms that could infect us. It causes them to go in, like it makes them sterile, they die, right? So you've eliminated the risk now of freezing for a week at minus 15 degrees, which most commercial chest freezers and stuff are. So mine's set at minus 18 degrees. So I just leave my pig, like I never eat pigs like straight off, cook it and cook it up around the campfire that night with my mates and stuff when you're out there hunting. I'll always freeze it for about 2 weeks at least, right? So that's getting rid of the worms. Then there's a lot of bacterial. So people talk about lepto, right? Brucellosis. All these things, if you cook them above 72 degrees, which is pretty much medium rare, right, kills them.
Yeah.
So all you do is use a digital thermometer, and when you're cooking a pork roast or pulled pork or whatever you want to do, just put that digital thermometer in there. Oh, cool, it's 85 degrees. Okay. It's like if there was bacteria there, like if there was fucking thousands of lepto, little minuscule bacteria, they're all dead now.
So cook it properly. Yeah.
Cook it properly. Which like it's so like
it's just knowing,
and that's the
more
thing. Like
about
people,
it. Like don't just sit there and
like,
go, oh, all pigs are shit eating because that's what you've heard from someone else.
Yeah,
actually take the time to learn
It's all
these
knowledge,
things.
and so through vet, I've purely learnt that stuff. And so, like I said, it's just about knowing the processes. So, like, if someone's more interested in eating white pork, I'm happy to. We won't do all this on air, but I'm happy to flick them a message or provide them with resources that show them, because, I'm not dead yet, but
So wild pigs treat like pigs, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. We'll treat them like deer. Like, I mean, like if you've got ones in like Charleville where you're from, and they're, you've been in drought for 6 months and they're barely surviving and they're runty as hell. You're not going to
eat
they've been eating dead shit
stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't eat that pig, not only for the risk of it, but it's like the eating quality of that pig is going to be fucking shit. Like, I'm not that hard done by to eat that pig. Whereas and same with I'm not going to shoot a massive boar and then eat it because it's going to be rutted up and stuff. Like, I might take the back legs and turn them into sausages. Yeah. But I'm not going to eat the whole thing because they actually boars and billies, goats, are the only two things that I've tried to make taste good.
But that's where, in a domestic setting, cattle are castrated for a reason. A bull is worse eating-wise than a young steer, just because of that testosterone, all those hormones.
Goats,
the
just
same
as
as a goat.
just as their nuts start dropping, they're delicious though.
Oh,
the younger ones, just as their balls start, just as they start maturing,
but
they
that's
start
where,
getting
with deer,
horns.
you don't notice it as much. you can say I'm biased, whatever, but I eat a lot of old male deer.
Yeah, like
and eat them as if they are a 6-month-old
So what
young deer.
What
Like,
cuts do you find hunters are leaving on deer?
just simple things like
often,
ribs, shanks,
yeah, so
heart,
often,
front legs,
people
neck.
take the shanks a bit, but like
I'd
it's
put it pretty much into if
back legs and back straps.
back legs.
Yep.
If people are taking meat, 90%. I don't know if that's true, but like
Yep.
Most
even
of the
out of
people we
everyone
know.
we know, will take back legs and back straps,
Yep.
and they're like, "Yep, no, I've taken
I've done my
and that
bit.
is majority of the easy stuff. Like,
Yeah.
and it is. It's literally straight down the spine on either side. Do a little sort of window, peel the. And this is like without having to touch the guts, which a lot of people are like, yeah, if I don't touch the guts, it doesn't stink, it's easy, the meat's clean, which is true. So a lot of people are just doing an incision down the spine, reflecting the skin backwards, making a bit of a window, back straps from like where the point of the scapula is on the front leg,
Yep.
all the way down to where the sort of the glutes on the arse,
Yeah.
the back legs sort of are. And that's a big stretch of meat, awesome for steaks, great for, the wife and kids or, husband and kids, whatever. Super easy, sort of, they're the back straps knocked out.
Yep.
Takes minutes. And then they go, all right, cool, my knife's still sharp, sharpen it again, whatever. I'm going to roll the deer onto its belly, lift up a back leg and, make a cut around its sort of like groin area.
Yep.
Push the back leg away, hit that socket, that ball joint, go bang, bang, flip the leg back over so they're almost touching, go around the back where the sort of the coccyx bone is, do that incision, and then they've got a 20 kilo back leg on most deer species.
Gone. Yep.
Gone. So that's 20 kilos of meat. Again, you can peel the skin off, keep the skin on depending on what you're doing with it, straight on a backpack or in a meat bag,
Yep.
whatever
Hang
it
it up in a
is.
tree.
But yeah, hanging in a tree, let
Yep.
it air dry. That's 3 things straight off.
Yeah.
Other back leg, even easier because you've already started. You've got rid of the other one that sits on it. Bang, bang, bang. All that's done, and I think is a bare minimum if you're going to shoot animals, especially
Yep.
deer, which is so good to eat. You can't be like, oh no, I don't like the taste. It's full of shit. Full of shit. I guarantee you, it's full of shit. And even if you don't like the taste, give it to your neighbor.
Yep.
Do the
Don't
right
be a lazy
things.
motherfucker either.
And that's right. It's fucking such a shit poor excuse. And I've got mates that are
Yeah.
big in the hunting industry will go, nah, and they're happy to eat turkey and fucking beef and all this shit, which, yeah, it's great. It tastes great too. But at the end of the day, you're going out there and killing something. You've got a responsibility that if you make it, again, it's like you don't hurt anyone by not taking it. Like no one sees you not take it.
Yeah.
And no one has to see you take it. But it's just like, why not? It's like,
Yeah.
I can't think of an analogy off the top of my
I
head,
know what
but
you mean, though.
it's like if you're going to do something to a certain point, why not?
Finish the fucking thing.
Do the whole
That's my biggest
process.
gripe in life, period.
Why not
I hate
just-
half
You don't take a shit and not wipe your ass. There you go.
That's
it's not even
Yeah.
close.
that's spot on analogy. That's the quote of this podcast.
But it really doesn't. And
Yeah.
people, that's where like they're lazy or they think, no, I don't know how to do it. Prepare yourself. Watch a fucking YouTube tutorial.
Yeah.
It's really like, it actually
Twin Elements on YouTube.
annoys me. Yeah. If
Little
only we
sly
knew
plug.
someone. But it actually really is annoying. And
Yeah.
that's like a bit, I think, in my opinion, should be a bare minimum.
Yeah.
If you're shooting animals, stags, hinds,
Yep.
does, whatever, like the name is, male, female of any sort of species where you can do that, you may as well.
Yeah.
And if you're not getting
Why would
it
you
to
go to
your
all that
direct
effort?
family,
To just waste a perfectly good...
especially if you're like,
Especially
it doesn't
when you-
even, there's
yeah.
no argument because it's like, especially if you eat meat, why wouldn't you? Wouldn't you want to say to your like wife and kids or husband and kids, whatever?
Yeah, well, I know where this meat comes
If
from.
you asked
Guess
around,
what? I
if you-
shot this the other week.
I'm feeding
I've
my
done it all
family.
properly.
Yeah.
It's hung. Save money on grocery bills. Go and do something special for your partner or whatever. Live more sustainably. Have an actual
Yep.
knowledge of where this meat came from. One, it's healthier because you know exactly where it came
Yeah.
from. Do it right. Freeze it. Do whatever you have to do. Butcher it. Process it. Do all these things that we're telling you. You can easily go and look from so many different resources. And you complete that circle, which is what I've sort of been saying. Going out in the bush and having an adventurous lifestyle, whether it be going out on your boat and fishing, is great. But if you know how to catch a fish and you are going to kill it or whatever, know how to fill it and bleed it properly and do all these things. And then know how to put it in the right packaging to prolong its shelf life once it's in your freezer. And just all these little strings to your bow that you add in are just going to make you such a more rounded sort of...
I like that. That was good.
Strings to the bow,
That was good. That was good.
Going to make you such a more rounded sort of person. And at the end of the day, for us, it's like less people can sort of like it sounds weird because we are sort of molding to what society is like,
Yep.
but we are a minority as hunters and fishers and all this sort of stuff where it's so easy to do. And again, even if you're not eating it yourself, I know hundreds of people that literally say, hey mate, if you got any backstraps, chuck them our way. Like you, someone that's outdoors all the time says, oh, if you got any game meat, chuck it my way and we'll swap for fish. Like why not? In what world does that not make sense?
That shit's cool to do, period. I love that fucking, I'm big on the whole,
it doesn't cost you any money. Like no more money.
Shit, man.
The only thing it costs you is a little bit of time and effort, which you're going to get the rewards for by cooking this thing that is just like mouth watering. And honestly, if you like, again, take a bit of an invested interest in it, learn about these cuts, learn about what you like. It's going to be the best thing you've ever eaten.
Yeah.
And that's like, I'm passionate about it because I'm a student.
Yep.
My grocery bill is sweet fuck all because all I do is buy, I do slow cooks every week on a Sunday. It's been taken over by this podcast.
My bad.
But normally we'll do a slow cook and that is lunch for the week pretty much. And it's venison. I know exactly where it came from. I buy some veggies and stuff. It's so easy. And then, I'll have backstraps for dinner. I'll have a coral trout, fillet for dinner. I don't buy red meat anymore. And it's cut my grocery bills in half.
Yep.
And it's health. Like there's no...
The other thing about venison too is like it's
super
so lean. So lean. Like in terms
high
of
in protein.
Yeah, like really high in protein. But it's like if you're... like if you're really even into your like fitness and gym and stuff like that, like you've got to learn how to cook it. Like it's really great in slow cooks and stuff because like you keep it moist and tender and stuff. Otherwise, you've got to pretty much like really cook it quickly in a pan.
Yeah.
But it's in terms of like a low fat option, like there is no fat in it. Like it's 99%.
But that's where, like going back to your original question with the actual what cuts are left behind is it's like really sad that it's accepted that, if you take the back legs and backstraps, you're a great person. You're the best. You take wild game meat, blah, blah, blah. Why stop there? Again, like this circle's not complete. There's literally turn it over and take the front legs.
You've probably only taken, a third of the animal?
Oh, it's not.
Probably
It's
about half. In terms of like all the meat that you potentially get. Like every
even
scrap.
half's not ideal.
No, but you're leaving so many goodies.
Like, are you satisfied with half the job?
Fuck no.
Yeah, exactly.
You know
and it's
what I mean?
like,
the next
you've got
step
a
is
beautiful
taking...
fillet there.
I'd be like having
the
mad
tail end.
anxiety walking away leaving half a big pile of meat there.
The next thing is like you take the two front legs, like and admittedly, like if you show it with a rifle and there's massive bruising and you've just completely destroyed a front leg, like I'm not saying take it because you're a pig.
It's
if
just
you don't.
know what
like,
you
I'm
can
just saying
take.
like if it's not bruised, take it. Maybe try a slow cooking thing with it or like make pulled venison and slow cook it. Another thing that's like so easy. Put that in tacos. Fuck, I guarantee you love it. Another thing that's like so easy to make. Like zero time, minimal effort, feed your family.
Right, hit us with a quick recipe, ready, go.
Oh, literally put it in the slow cooker with like beef stock.
Sear it first?
Yeah, you can if you don't want to. You said the simplest recipe.
Okay, go.
Literally put it in the slow cooker with beef stock, leave it for like a couple of hours, like 4 hours, right, until the meat's coming off the bone. Then just pull it out, shred it, right, with a fork, and then just add like a smoky barbecue sauce to that. And then if you want to be really sciencey with it, go and just flash cook that in a bit of oil so like the barbecue sauce goes all gooey. Chuck that in tacos with some fucking coleslaw, mate.
I'm big on tacos, man.
So am I.
That's
wraps,
fucking
tacos.
I love like traditional. Yeah, I love that.
Like,
Yeah.
everyone's
trout bombs. I've heard about trout bombs. I have to talk about that.
They are good. Everyone's sort of like obsessed with, you can't. Venison's just a backstrap that's seared with salt and pepper or whatever. But it's like you can make tacos with it. We make so many stir fries, so many things.
Yeah, we've got a mincer and a sausage maker. So like I make my own sausages.
Yeah.
But like we just mince it. So like anything you can do with beef mince, you can do with like pork. Like if you want to make it more fatty, just chuck pork fat into it.
Yeah.
Like which we get. Like we just shoot fat pigs and just cut the pork
fat,
and put it into that. Like, That's what. And like I just use now. I even use pork fat to put into my own sausages.
Yeah.
Like, but you need like really fat pigs for that.
Yeah.
But or mix it 50-50 and then put that in your burgers or whatever. But like
I have to give you a recipe to make tortillas.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
fucking, I do like all that sort of shit. There's a show I watch on Netflix called Taco Chronicles.
Yeah, right.
But it goes back to like, have I told you?
Shout out to Taco Chronicles.
Fucking, I wish they had sponsored this video. It's like an epic. It's only a few episodes on there, but it's like, I'm getting off track, but like Central American shit, like Mayans and stuff, like where tacos came from.
But that Mexican cuisine, like people,
Fuck,
like
it's
it's
good,
so
man.
any like enchiladas, tacos, like all that type, nachos, like all those type of cuisines, like unreal. And then it's the same with like, and that's why I think people just like look at it.
People
and just
are too rigid.
Back legs go to dogs, and then you cook the backstraps up and you have it as steak. And there's like, a chittle backstrap that feeds like you cook up each backstrap that feeds a family for 2 nights of 365. Well, you get an extra 20, 30 kilos of meat from all the rest of it. Start doing those pulled.
There's that much flavour, and there's that much stuff like rubs and sauces and marinades and shit now that's easily and readily available. You could make a fucking dog turd taste pretty good.
Yeah.
I feel.
Sure. That's where like you've got this meat that is actually pretty phenomenal.
Yeah. Like even if you fucked it up, you could do something to it to make it.
And that's the thing. I guess with venison, and a lot of wild game, like it's no different to cooking with pork or lamb or anything like that. Like so, the wild product that you're starting with is already fucking phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like it's not like you're starting with something shit and you're trying to like get it. As long as you know the processes and like the pros and cons and stuff, like you're going to end up with a great dish as long as you know how to, treat it properly well or treat it right in the kitchen.
Yeah. Yep. No, that fucking covers nearly all of that.
Should we smash fish bombs real quick?
Yeah, do that. I've got one question to round that out after you tell me about the trout bombs.
Trout bombs is an easy invention. Like it got invented because we were spearfishing on a boat and had like an overnight trip.
We'll talk about that
founders.
We'll talk about that trip too. Yeah, sorry, continue.
But yeah, essentially what we did was it works with any piece of fish and it's great for like we did cold trout, but it's great for poorer quality, like less poorer quality eating fish that people regard as. And essentially all you do is you're taking a fillet, you're wrapping in foil, you just do honey, soy, chili, ginger, garlic, shallots or spring onions. And then a little bit of ABC sauce as well if you want. Fold that up and chuck it into like a barbecue or Weber or in your oven, right? And then you pull out this like, it's pretty much made its own sauce from like the honey and the soy and the ABC sauce, but you've got this like Asian inspired and infused fish that you can then just put with like, we just had it with instant rice and cooked up a bit of greens and stuff with it. So you've got this dish which literally you're just making foil paper mache, chucking it in there, chuck a couple of ingredients in there, put it in there, do almost nothing to it, and it comes out and it's so good. Like the depth of flavours that you get. Like my mouth's watering right now.
Yeah,
like,
I feel like tacos.
You don't have to be you don't have to be like an expert to put something in foil, put a few things on it, put it in the oven.
Yeah. I'll tell you what is good for trout as well is butterfly trout. So get a trout, butterfly it.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple. Maybe I'll show you how to do it and you can do an episode on it. Anyway, and then
I was going to say guest host.
Pin the tail, get the gurney, because trout, trout scales like it. Fuck, get the gurney the scales off it.
Yeah.
Because it's fucked otherwise.
That'll be the intro scene, you and your budgie smugglers.
Foot on the tail, on a cutting board on the grass, gurney and the fucking scales off. Dry, like pat it dry, salt on the top, uncovered in the fridge overnight.
Yeah.
Next day, skin down first, straight over coals on a grill, and then it'll gets crackle.
Yeah, sounds
good. I'm like,
yeah.
Oh, we're gonna get some trout.
That seals it, and then it cooks through. Like I leave the rib cage in so nothing falls over when you. I just cut the backbone, separate the rib cage from the backbone.
But it's not a clean fillet. Oh my god, how will we manage?
Yeah, and it's fucking amazing. And then homemade chili jam, or chili oil. Yeah. I forget the recipe of chili oil.
So we got up a chili oil fit, because we had some snapper that we're gonna we had a few.
Have you made it before?
No.
James wouldn't let me do it. He reckons it was too similar to a few other recipes we had, and I was it's nothing.
Fucking chili oil, man, is epic. Peanut oil or coconut oil, depending on what your flavour preference is. Raging hot while it's heating up in a wok. Yeah. Then you get bulk garlic, fresh garlic, no crust tin shit. Yeah. Chop it, heat like fucking
10 cloves.
At least. No, bulbs.
Yeah.
2 or 3 bulbs of garlic.
Now we're talking. That's what we talk in bulbs.
Yeah.
We're just 3 bulbs.
You can never have too much garlic.
Oh, never.
A couple of pieces of star anise, a couple of bay leaves, a couple of chilies. I like mixing a couple of really hot chilies with bigger chilies for flavour.
Yeah.
Into a bowl, raging hot oil straight on top. Don't do it straight in a glass jar. That explodes. It explodes. Don't do that. Wok straight in the hot.
The
hot
people who are listening at home who are literally going, oh wait, pause. Yep, got my raging hot oil in the glass jar. Oh shit.
Blew up. Kitchen covered. Whole lot wasted. But hot oil straight in the bowl. and it just sort of like, and over time it gets hotter and hotter, and it like emulsifies. No, is that the right word?
Intensify.
No, like it
sort of like everything's
it like
combines,
the oil starts to turn like a pale, like a red.
diffuses.
Infuses. That's the word. Simple as fucking word. Infuses. Yeah, and it goes to like
osmosis. We're all getting around. Yeah.
It's a big word, like wheelbarrow and corrugated iron. Fuck. Yeah. Anyway, off track. But we need to talk some cooking.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Fucking oath.
No, we'll just do a big cook up one day. Just do like 20 courses. Just like keep smashing out stuff.
Just
be like, I've got a new recipe for you.
Just someone standing on the tripod, just passing, and another person just passing batteries.
Yeah.
And SD cards.
Yeah.
Have you had heart?
Nah, I haven't. Not deer heart. I've eaten like lamb and stuff like that. Yeah.
It'd be pretty similar.
Yeah. I've eaten like tongue. I eat all that sort of stuff. I don't always go and buy it, but if someone's got it, like I'll eat
It's
it.
heart to full circle to go back to like that question: what people leave in the bush that they shouldn't. It's like probably one of the things that once you do it, you'll be wanting to take it out more than backstraps.
Yep.
And it's like surprising to say that, but
I feel like deer lamb's fry would be fucking amazing, and I make a mean lamb's fry too, just quietly.
But the thing
that
my issue with this, like the heart and tongue.
You know, we've been talking for an hour and a half about this shit.
Oh, really?
It's fucking cool.
Man, we could do another 6 hours. Like,
keep going.
We love it. That's the easy
my
thing.
My issue with it is there's only one. Like there's only one tongue. Like there's only one heart. And so like I have to go and like if I want to introduce someone to it, I then have to share my like precious resource.
Yeah.
That I like with.
Yeah.
Oh.
What about have you tried? Sorry, you go.
I was gonna say I had a fella come out guiding and. You know, took the cape, did the backstraps, all that. And that's where, unfortunately, like the trophy preparation comes first because it's so hot and that's ultimately what they're sort of paying for.
Yeah.
And then, but no meat gets left behind. Same thing. He's like, oh, what are we doing until we start going to the car? I'm like, no, I'm just going to work out all the heart and the tenderloins and all that sort of stuff. So he's like, what? Do you eat it? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Anyway, he's like, I've never had it before. I'm like, don't worry, we'll have it fresh as soon as we get back to camp. And I had this beautiful tenderloin from this Chiddle stag cut up and marinated the exact same as the heart. I think from memory we had like Moroccan spice, and I just thought, we'll do some garlic, salt, pepper, Moroccan spice. And this heart basically just pan-seared or fried, whatever, like real quick on a hot pan or skillet. And no shit, the heart went so much. I didn't have any heart. The heart went before the tenderloin even got
just
touched.
downed it.
Yeah.
Yes.
He absolutely loved
That's
it.
awesome.
I've never met someone that doesn't like heart butt. Like that's.
I like it.
But like I've never like
again,
once
it
someone
depends how
eats
it's
it,
cooked.
they're just like I remember like where I was. We had like a big meat.
You gonna duck out? Are you ducking out?
No.
Oh.
We had a big
dog
meat
under your
cook
feet?
up.
No, I
And
moved from...
we had a big meat cook up, and like I had a heap of my vet friends come over.
Yeah.
They just all just popped in, and there was a group of like 4 girls, and I was literally like butchering this deer, like it was hanging like near my back door.
I like where the story's going.
And I pulled in my leopard print G-string and walked in there with the heart, and I was like, "Ladies, I'm got a treat for you."
Oh dear.
And anyway,
oh dear.
no, it was middle of winter in Victoria. Yeah. Good one. No, it was the middle of winter in Victoria. I was wearing about 14 layers, and they couldn't see anything of me. But cooked this heart up, and I cooked the backstrap up at the same time. And similar story, like these girls smashed the heart. Like while I was cooking it, like I cooked the heart first, turned around. By the time I'd cooked the backstrap, which is like 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, the heart was gone.
Did they like the deer heart though? I'm on fire. I'm on fire. No, yeah, it's. I think it's just how it's perceived.
Oh,
and then
for sure.
It's pretty easy
You
to
got
change
this
people's minds if
meat-filled,
they open the
bloody,
taste.
like weird looking organ, and it's like, what the fuck am I
But
doing
that's
with
like deer in general and wild game. It's like the
Unknown.
possibilities are like truly endless. Like you can honestly, there is no cut on a deer that's bad. Like the second you take the guts out, and that's like you can have it whatever offal you want that a cow has, and if you liken it to just a resource that you can then go and consume, the whole animal is eatable. It just depends on how far you want to get immersed into sort of actually learning about it and taking a bit of pride in what you shoot and then harvesting it and sharing with your family ultimately and friends and whatever. Like similar up here, we had a rugby. This is when James was still at uni. I'd just come up and we had some venison in the fridge or freezer or whatever. And we made venison burgers and everyone's like, oh, this burgers are fucking unreal. Like, how did you make this? And we're like, oh, well, firstly, it's venison. And, we just, mixed up a few things and made it from scratch. And that's 20 blokes on a footy team that then go and eat it and go, holy shit, venison's actually pretty cool. Like, and I've got mates still asking when they're going to come and have that barbecue and stuff, the next one.
Yeah.
Like, that's what sort of really sort of cements.
It's rewarding too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
What about, so to round this whole thing out, I've been wanting to ask this for ages. When you go and you do a camp or a hunt or whatever, essential like condiments that you take, or like let's go cooking gear and condiments to eat on the go. Either of one of you can answer. Wraps.
Condiments, like we're
wraps are essential anywhere outside.
I think with any sort of like, we're European, so we have always like grown up smashing garlic and onion and stuff, and I think that a lot of the time that just helps.
Do you like? How do you pack
that's
that?
Not. I was gonna say that's not really a condiment. That's
Oh,
more
I
like
don't
if
mean
we're
like.
living-
I mean just in general, like other
so-
ingredients that you add to
Yeah.
a cut to when you're eating on the go.
Yeah. Like if you're living in a backpack, you're obviously going pretty light, and we're more eating the heart, tenderloin, back straps, and then trying to pack it. And then as we're packing back out to civilization, this is more like New Zealand or in Arnhem Land or whatever for buffalo. You're eating those cuts of meat that are probably best fresh, and then every night you're carrying the back legs and what other meat out, you're hanging them up again, and then as you sort of get closer to the car, you're eating the cuts of meat that aren't as that need to be eaten, and they're easier and they're smaller, and you can sort of take the heart and you're not dismantling a whole back leg. But in general, like there's so much you can do with just salt, pepper,
Salt, pepper, and
the
a good
fire
skillet,
and
really,
knowing-
or like a good rack to cook on. But the other thing that's really good for like, which in my opinion is like a good skillet to cook on the fire is essential, because you get that like it holds the heat really well. So you need that for that like quick fry, or quick cook and then oftentimes like it's just salt and pepper, like if you're doing it simple. Inversely,
time's really good, like the actual herb.
Inversely, like in terms of-
Thyme.
inversely,
rosemary.
I was going to say a camp oven.
Yeah.
Like having a camp oven that you can like, and it's so good for.
Sure,
like,
not carrying that.
Yeah, that's like these. Like I'm thinking like.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
out
You
of
go
a car,
back to
like
camp.
camping out of a car or something.
Yeah.
Backpack hunting is very much just like, half the time, like you might have like a garlic,
A stick.
And put it over the fire.
A stick,
A bit of
literally,
backstrap,
and like
cut thin,
If you've
over
got
the
like
fire.
garlic infused salt or something, it's like, holy shit, this is best. And you haven't generally you haven't eaten for like properly for 5 days or something since you got in there. So like anything's good. You're just literally, like Ayden said, stick on the fire, like, and that will be the best thing you've eaten for 5 days. If you're in a camp, like a good skillet, just salt and pepper. Like we actually use a lot of like Moroccan spice, because we just find that it's really nice, but not like overpowering as well.
Yep.
So that's really good for those like quick cut sort of steak, heart, like ribeye, those type of cuts, and like some of the gluteal muscle, like top side and stuff, like in the back legs. Really good camp fare. The other thing, like what we're saying, is that slow cooker in the camp oven, which is fantastic if you're hunting, or whether you're hiking, or whether you're skiing or anything like that. Like if you've got something, chuck it in the camp oven, you almost can't do it wrong. Like plenty of fluids in there. Chuck some mushrooms, carrot, celery, that type of stuff in there. Like do it like a casserole. If you got some red wine that your missus half drank the night before, chuck that in there, or your husband.
Slow cooks are great.
Either one. But chuck it in there, chuck it on the ground. You come back after a busy day doing whatever the fuck you're doing, and you pull it up, and you've got this unreal tasting meat off the bone, whether it is wild game or whether it's just beef. Dinner that's ready, and you've done honestly fuck all. Like you've just cut everything up into sections, put some fluids with it, and left it on the ground, and let time do your work. And
what time?
Oh, probably 4 hours. Time and time. That six sprigs of time, and also give it about 4 hours. 5 hours.
But that's where like you also don't want your cooking to necessarily be this like laborious time consuming thing. So if you can continue, fishing on the beach.
Simple food made well is a big thing in my book.
Where, like, a slow cook is awesome, or just like a really quick sort of seared backstrap or heart or tenderloin, or you put the ribs in like a boiling pot of water and you're just watching it while you're fishing on the bank or whatever. You're skiing or you're hunting or whatever. Like you can just, so much of this is like, you're trying to have real good wholesome meals without, going above and beyond and making it like this difficult process. And then being able to share that with like the people you're with and sit by a fire, it's like there's nothing beats it. Like it's you don't need a table, you don't need chairs,
that makes it taste
cutlery.
good.
Oh, for sure.
I love having like that. Like going, I message on a Saturday afternoon. I'm going, hey, Sunday arvo roast on at mine. Rotisserie goes on at like I get up at like
early.
like early, get the coals like really cranking.
Yeah.
I prep the meat the night before and love
Yeah,
it.
for
Eh?
sure.
Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Honey
Yeah.
soy is another really good, like, for those simple dishes. Like, you just want to marinate in something that you can, like, do before. Like, it just works so
Yeah.
well.
Or garlic and like a teriyaki sauce.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
like just
Bulk
searing
garlic,
something.
period. Just
Yeah.
garlic.
Just, yeah. If you don't like garlic, we're not
Yeah,
friends.
you can't listen to this podcast if you don't like
Yeah.
garlic.
Inspired by garlic.
Well, we might round that one out. We'll either call it quits or we'll have another break and we'll go round 3.
Easy.
Thanks for listening.
I'm on tacos.
Yeah.